anything crazy that we need to build for the next release? I decided to force.
No, whatever it is, no crazy things. If there are any issues that you guys want to discuss specifically, I can go through things on a high level and then just see which issues are like blockers, let's call them, for this release. So let me try to share my screen. Maybe, hopefully, Jitsi won't, but it will probably crash. Let me actually share a link in the chat, and then you guys can open it. So let's start. 1.6.0 new major release. We have a bunch of opened issues and bunch of features actually planned. Not everything is on this board. I'm a little bit behind with putting all of the issues because you guys have been opening PR, so it's a little bit messy on my end, and I was AFK for like 6 or 7 days, so I'm catching up on that. I would say like the highlights of the next release will probably be adding Lightning to the dashboard, which is something Dennis can comment on, and then I'd say creating a finally store emailing functionality, which Cooks already had a PR for adding basically emails to the store in from what I've seen, a very configurable way. So those two are something that we can discuss right away. And afterwards, we have like a pay button that we want to, as a part of a system plugin. So let's begin and then let's comment issues like, let's start with actually the lighting of the dashboard, because that's something that people have been requesting. So Dennis, have you started working on it, or any comments on that one?
Yes, that's actually what I'm working on right now. And I've also talked to Destruct. He promised me that he'll bring some mocks for what the tile will look like and what info we will display to tomorrow's design meeting. But I finished the prerequisite task of adding the get balance function to the Lightning library already. Nicolas prepared a version of the lib which I integrated, and yes, as I said, I'm right now putting on a basic tile on the dashboard, and yeah, I think I can talk more about that in tomorrow's design meeting. But I think it will be straightforward because we already decided that we want to show the balance and or the various balances and the links to the external services like RTL, Thunderhub, etc. And for the other task, which was making the pay button a system plugin, that's what I plan to do right after that. Haven't gotten around to doing that, but yeah, I'll start with that tomorrow, I think.
What kind of timeline do we have for 1.6?
3 weeks tops. Like, we don't have like any significant features, so I think 3 weeks is more than enough to push this one forward. Even though like we can probably expand it for 1 more week as usual, but I don't think there is a need to do it like any more than 3 weeks, because I've looked at the features and there is no like significant change that matter, and there aren't even too much overlaps between different issues and PRs, so I think we should be good.
I think it depends a bit on how we want to solve this at point of sale data to the dashboard thing, because we discussed that maybe making the point of sale app a plugin which would feature that would be a possibility. And I'm not sure. For me, this is at least right now the biggest task left in this milestone or release.
It's a bit tricky with that. So the pay button, from what I understood, is that we're not really taking it out of the core functionality. We're just moving it around, right?
Yes, that's what I plan to do. But for what I just described with the POS, it's a bit different, because to make the data available that we plan to show on the dashboard, we need to, basically come up with a more elaborate data structure, because right now we can't display the data because we just don't have it. And
What kind of data are you talking about?
I think the what was it? I haven't looked at it for a few weeks now, but we had this tile on the dashboard when we initially planned to do the dashboard. I don't have the mocks in front of me right now, but I tried to add it and it wasn't possible.
Okay.
I mean, for the point of sale, you only need products, right? The amount of products that you have sold, or what else do you need in point of sale? Like,
it should be identical to crowdfunding, I guess, because more or less it's the same structure. Because the product item that you've sold on the point of sale should show up in the same way that as you've done for crowdfunding, I guess. I don't think the data should be any different.
The data isn't that different, but as I said, when I implemented the tiles initially, I tried to aggregate all of the things we wanted to show on the dashboard, and it just wasn't possible.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we need some better filtering, querying stuff.
Yeah, that said, I don't think this particular issue should be a blocker for the next release. It isn't like really important as much as Lightning. So if we don't make it happen for 1.6, we can always do it in the next minor release or in 1.7. So okay, I don't think it's like a feature that many people want in, but many people want fiat data and Lightning on their dashboards. So
yes, the the fiat one, there's also a ticket for that. I moved that into review just yesterday. I think it's mostly done. Maybe there are some things we need to redesign. I haven't talked about this with Destruct yet, but I plan to do this tomorrow. But for the POS thing, so let's say that our goal won't be to make this POS stuff a plugin just yet, but come up with a better data structure. And once we've got that, we can then at a later point in time migrate it over to a plugin.
Cool. And the Lightning stuff to the dashboard. I mean, keep in mind that we don't really have any other UI, so this will be the first UI that's very specific to Lightning stuff. Is the plan to put that in there and not expand more? Like, we won't have dedicated pages for Lightning, or will we?
Yeah, the general plan is to keep it as minimal as possible, and just show the data that users really want on there, and leave the rest up to third-party tools, which do a way better job than we can, because, well, they are there, they are established, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I mean, and what's that data? What kind of data are we talking about? I guess it's going to be mostly like channels, I guess, because showing a balance might be tricky.
You don't need channels. People don't want to see channels. Like, they want to see how much money they've made. Like, merchants want to know how much money I have on my on chain and off chain and together, and how does that change over time? Like, am I doing better or worse? That's like the basic data that we want to show. Like, showing channels and things like that is out of scope, I think, for now.
Okay.
Though if people like really want to have it, then we can add it. But like for this one specifically, just show them balance, how much money they are making.
Yeah, but you're talking you're talking about something similar to what we have for the on-chain one, and I don't think that's possible.
Not with the graph. I think the basic idea is that we at first show just the on-chain balance and the off-chain balance, and then there's potentially an option to expand this a bit and see which funds are closing channels, opening channels, and which are active on your end and the remote end. That's basically how I designed the Lightning get balance method.
Okay, with that one clear, let's see. We improved the refund flow already.
There were some items that for the refund flow, I remember that Dennis had some checkpoints on it that weren't filled out, but I guess they're not as important for the release, or it was Destruct's PR.
Yeah, what I did in my PR, which is already merged, was UI redesign stuff, and the other things that were leftovers are more like features in themselves or additions to the functionality of the refund flow. So I figured it might be best to tackle them in a separate PR.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have an open issue now though around this because the other issue got closed. Should I reopen that one?
I think it makes sense to reopen two separate ones.
Okay. Okay. Well,
but that's a good point. So we don't forget about it.
Okay. For reference, some of the features I'm working on are the main two things that need some help with UX and design. One of them is the store email functionality. I posted a little screenshot of it inside the UX channel on Mattermost. It's really ugly. I made it ugly on purpose so that somebody will actually fix it. But basically, it's just the concept is basically, I'm calling it store email rules, where basically it follows the same concept as webhooks, but for emails, and you get to configure whether to send it to the email linked in the invoice or to multiple other emails. So the CC, BCC, that kind of stuff. And basically the triggers are basically, if you want to do it when an invoice is created, you can do it that way. You can do it if an invoice is settled. You can do it if an invoice is in invalid mode, that kind of stuff. So, and you get to configure, like there's a subject, there's a body, and the body is HTML. So we can actually hook up maybe the rich text editor to it to some degree. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but yeah, anyway. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, we can work on design. We can discuss that tomorrow on a design meeting. I wouldn't like complicate things with HTML. Like for now, let's just keep it simple, push it, and then if people require further like modifications of their emails or whatnot, and we can just link to Wooter, Zapier. Like whoever wants anything more complex, just use Zapier or other tools. Like this is just made to like keep you updated on the invoice statuses, mostly if it's incomplete or complete.
No,
that's about it.
Yeah. This won't do any of the templating stuff in the email. So
yeah, we don't need it at all.
I didn't add any of that. I was just mentioning that the body supports HTML too, so you can actually write HTML. So if you hook up the rich text editor to it, you can format it and put a picture in it or something. The second item that I haven't had time to finish yet, but it's mostly there, it just needs some UX work again, is the receipt page pull request. So what this does is basically you can enable this new feature inside the store settings, which is basically show a receipt to the customer. And now you can, once an invoice is settled, you can give the link to the customer, or we can show it on the checkout page or something like that, or we can email it to them. And they'll be able to have a kind of a verification page where it shows that that an invoice has been paid. BTCPay showing that it got paid. We can show extra data on there. Maybe we can show QR code, all that stuff. It's kind of configurable up to what you put into the invoice when you create it. So this will mostly be powered through how you use the API to create an invoice. On BTCPay's side of things, like if you create a true payment request or something, I haven't really thought about customizing it more than the most basic format. But I think we'll just wait until people actually use it and tell us what they want on it.
I think we should make all of these things part of the design meeting tomorrow, because Andy already has some points, but yeah, for these we are talking about things that are right in the scope of the next release, so we should prioritize
I agree.
them.
Usually we go out of scope on many things in a design meeting, so let's try to scope this for 1.6, and on the next meetings we can talk about stuff that's not yet scheduled. So besides that, let's see if we have some burning items, but it doesn't seem that we do. Like, I'm not sure I would call if Refactor Authorized Ui burning item, or those are things that we can iron out. Like, since we're here, let's see if any other guys have any feedback or something they're working on or have any blockers. So maybe it's now a good time to revisit that, and then we'll see from other, I guess, items if there is something to be expanded on. But from my end, I don't think any of these require like a deep discussion, mostly because we already had discussion around them.
Yeah, but for the Refactor Authorized Ui, I I had a brief look at it and didn't really understand what's left to do, because I think the discussion on that is also a bit older. I'd appreciate if we could clarify what's to do, because then I could take it on early next week.
Well, Wouter is here. He opened that issue, so maybe he can expand of what's needed there. I have no clue what we need to do.
Yeah. Hey guys. So it's been a while, but let me try to recollect what this was about. It's basically when you want to link an e-commerce site to BTCPay Server. Ideally, you would have a connect button in the e-commerce software, and that would take you to a page where you can authorize the connection. But the UI for the authorized page is not very logically designed. I think basically you currently you select the permissions that you want, and then per permission you select the store, but it should be the other way around. So you should first select the store and then the permissions that you want to give for that store, because in practice that's always the way it's going to be. So store centric first and then permissions for the store, instead of permissions first and then stores under that permission. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got that one. So it's kind of like a two-step program wizard, where you select the store, then you get to select the permissions.
Because in most cases you're just going to link to one store, and then maybe you want to select 4 permissions and not everything. It's not like you're going to give the create invoice permissions for store ABC, but not for D and E, and then the view invoice that will be for store F. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So you just first select the store and then which permissions, and you're able to continue. And yeah, so it just needs to be the order needs to change in which you are able to fill out the form.
Sounds good. I think we can add a flag so that we can show an additional thing before you select the other permissions. And then once you select the store, we'll just pass it into the normal page, and we'll hide the option to select the store permission. They'll be pre-selected. What do you think?
So yeah, it is a breaking change, because if we make it so that you select the store first, you won't be able to make certain selections. But
yeah,
I don't think anybody was actually using this, to be honest.
It could be. I mean, it could just be a flag, honestly, because what do we have? We have something right now.
Yeah, we have strict mode.
And selective stores, I think. I don't
remember. Yeah, and I think the issue was with strict mode. What was it again? I think you got stuck somehow because you're not able to make the selection you need, something like that. And I think
I think that was a bug, but I think it got fixed. So with strict mode, if strict mode is set, then you can't change any of the permissions that the URL requested in advance. And selective stores is something else, which basically is that if you have a store, if you have 5 stores, how was it? I forgot how it worked, actually. I haven't went to the screen in a while now. Okay. So if you have selective stores enabled, then the permission for which you're granting to, if they are, for example, can modify invoices, if selective stores is false, then I think you give permission to all the stores. If selective stores is true, then you give permission to the stores you select.
Makes sense.
So I guess you can do an extra flag where if selective stores is true and pre-select stores or something, then maybe we can show an extra step before where you select the stores.
I think what would be good is to make sure that the user can only select one store.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even if there is only one store configured on BTCPay server side, you will always have the drop down to select one store, and this is a bit complicated for documentation and for the user because they are a bit confused. So it would be great if we can send a flag, so only one store allowed or something like
single
that.
store or something.
Yes, and then if
works.
there's only one store, then it's already pre-selected, and then the user just needs to check the permissions, or we can even set the permissions via the API call, because we know what we need, and so that the user just clicks OK or something like that.
That works pretty well, actually. So we can add a new flag, single store, which works in conjunction. I don't know if it should work in conjunction with selective stores. I think it just overrides it. And if single store is set to true and you only have one store, you skip any configuration. Everything is just set to one store, to that one store that you have enabled. If you have multiple stores, you have to show a drop down before you go to the permission page, and then you can continue to it. We have to keep in mind that we probably need a back button if we do that, so that you can change the store.
Can't we do something where we just show and hide parts of the UI?
Well, we have the wizard flow in some places already, which seems to be a nice fit here too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess for the case that I was working on, it was the Magento plugin, and ideally, I think for other e-commerce software as well, you would be using the strict mode. So the plugin wants 4 or 5 permissions, then just select which store you want to connect, and then you're done. So the wizard is just one step, just confirm the store and done.
Wouter, Andreas, is any one of you up for taking this one?
I got plenty of stuff on my plate, to be honest. I want to get the Custodian API a little bit more finished and demo ready for Riga. So that's kind of my goal here.
So I'm not sure what do you mean. So on BTCPay server side, I have no clue, to be honest.
Okay.
I can do some JavaScript or HTML stuff if you want, but I think to get booted up with BTCPay server, it would take too long.
All right.
But I will start at some point. But
okay. But as you are the stakeholder, Wouter, you can at least do the review on that one.
Yeah, sure. I can do the review, and maybe if Kukks says that there was a bug in the past and it's solved, maybe it's not so critical anymore. I need to have a look at it.
Okay, I'll get to it once I finish the other tasks.
The single use case for a single store when connecting with an online store. So this is the use case for this, and I think it's everywhere the same. Does not matter for WooCommerce, Magento, or something else.
If there is nobody else, I do have a small question. It's a little bit technical, but so for the Custodian APIs, I need to do some polling where we get the IDs of withdrawals and deposits, so we can detect that there was a new deposit or a new withdrawal, and use that as a trigger to fire a webhook. But I was thinking, where should we store the withdrawal IDs or the deposit IDs? Do I just create a new table for deposits and withdrawals, or do I put it somewhere in the metadata for the custodian account, perhaps? What are your thoughts about that? I think Kukks most likely would have an idea on this.
Good question. I mean,
it's just a list of strings, basically, the IDs that we encountered previously, and then we're going to poll maybe like every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, like, is there a new withdrawal? And if there is, then we can fire a new webhook and use that as a trigger to convert to fiat or
do it in the blob of the custodian, because it's specific to the custodian, and we can Like if we actually need more data to it later on, we can actually migrate it to a dedicated table. But for now, I think it's okay in just a blob.
Okay.
Makes sense as well, because it's just there's no extra data. You're only using it to check if there was a new string in there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Might there be less data to store if you just remember the last time you polled and then just check for anything that's happened since then?
Yeah, do you have a timestamp in the filtering capable? I guess it depends on the exchanges, right?
Yeah. I think if you just track the IDs, it may be safer. May also, yeah, I guess, yeah.
It could be a mix of both.
I'll keep it in mind. Yeah, maybe.
What is there to it? Have you looked into the configuration UI builder that you wanted to do, Wouter, as well?
Yeah, I spent some time looking for structures, but I didn't really find anything. So I think I'm just going to proceed with the idea that I had.
Okay.
One thing I would add is a structure for a field set. So the form can have field sets. So fields that belong together can be grouped. I think that would be nice without adding too much complexity, just an extra level in the JSON. But besides this, I'm a little bit swamped with the baby and everything. So I haven't been able to get the progress that I wanted to.
Can you create an issue with the schema and everything, just so maybe somebody else can pick it up? Because I think if the schema is sound enough and simple enough, we can use it to create I forgot what's the name of the feature. It's the one that Pat has been wanting for a while. The request buyer address kind of thing, or form builder and that kind of stuff. So if the field set schema is good enough, we can reuse that one and build one common component for everything. So for invoice creation or for custodian data entry, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's a good idea.
Then maybe we can prioritize that for 1.7 and we'll hit two birds with one stone.
Yeah, or I can just create a small PR with a few classes and just introduce the structure that way.
Yeah, sure. As long as it's documented enough, I think we can be fine.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah, for discussing it, it might work also if we just have a basic structure as Kukks recommended.
Cool. Okay. What's next? Anything crazy that we need to build for the next release? I decided to forfeit.
No, whatever it is, no crazy things.
Wait. Let me finish my sentence, man. Jesus. I decided to forfeit my crazy feature for this release. Jesus, come on, pal. Let me finish my sentence and give you some nice. The pay join feature I wanted to build, I'm gonna move it for 1.7, I think, because I just don't have time to build it all in 2 days.
You now have a wife, and she told you not to work during holidays, so it won't be possible.
Yeah, so I won't be building that for this release. Maybe 1.7. But I will spend the next 2 days trying to polish up as much as possible the store emails and the public invoice receipts, just because they're small enough that they might be okay for me to finish the base skeleton off, and then somebody can put some pretty UI on top of them. Yeah, I'm done now.
If you want to get a divorce, come contribute to BTCPay Server then.
Or build pretty UIs based on stuff Kukks came up with.
Okay, I have one more, and then I see that we have Synonym guys. Perhaps they have some questions, but mine is for Endit, just about the Virtual and Joomla thing. That do we advertise it? Should I tweet it and just ask people to help us test it? Because we now have proper documentation. It seems that it's been through alpha tests, so now we just need more eyes on it. There are more people trying to break it, I guess.
Yeah. It should work. I tested some use cases, or the most common ones, but I'm not sure if I missed something. Also because I don't use it myself somewhere, so I think it would be good if at least a few people could check. Yeah. It
Okay.
should
Goes
work,
the
but
backup
you
and
never
restore
know.
process.
Is it on the Joomla extension directory now, or?
Yeah, it's there too, and also the documentation is done. Maybe I do a quick run through with a screencast so that it can be commented by WebWar, or how is it called? Yeah, he did a pretty good job with WooCommerce.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
And
I hope
so I just go on with OpenCart then. I started already, so the code base there is a bit, yeah, also strange. They still copy files in different directories, so in admin, in catalog, in system, and so on.
it's too much into a way.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, but I found a good boilerplate plugin where I can copy most of the things, and I think it's not that challenging. So overall, the structure of the classes is very clean, but the file structure is a bit strange. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I guess that's for the 1.7 kind of
Yeah.
area release.
I'm not sure how long, but
yeah.
it should be faster than the Joomla one because there was a bit distracted by customers.
Fair enough. Okay. I wanted to ask: do we have a Node.js implementation of the Greenfield API?
No, but somebody wanted to take it up.
Okay.
I think I pinged you, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Somebody said he wants to do it.
Wasn't the initial plan to generate it based on the Swagger stuff?
Yeah, but I think we gave up on that because it was too inaccurate to make it right. Because like even the authorization stuff, like there's some things that it just might not be one-to-one from the Swagger generator. But I guess we could try. I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. I think at this point, the Swagger definition is, I guess, all the models are there in the right order and stuff. So
yeah, maybe this isn't really related, but a while ago I tried to validate the Swagger stuff, and I hit some errors or at least warnings, and maybe if we resolve those, it might be possible to generate a more accurate version.
anyway, what did I want to say? Oh, forgot. Yeah, for the blog post for the 1.6 release, we should mention as well some of the plugins. Start mentioning like there's a new integration as well through a plugin, Ticket Tailor, that is being used in production recklessly by Honey Badger guys. What else is there? We also have the LNURL and NFC plugin that the Coin Corner guys are shilling around a bit. I don't know if you want to shill LN Bank anymore right now, Dennis, or you want to wait?
With the next release, it should be pretty solid because by now I managed to resolve all the kinks I knew about. The current version isn't released yet because it would require a Lightning library update and hence also a BTCPay update, but we can ship it in conjunction with 1.6.
So there are a few things to mention inside the blog post as well, beyond just features inside BTCPay. Yeah. All right. What should we get to now?
Let's see if people have questions since we wrapped up pretty much everything for the 1.6. Let's start with Synonym, guys. I'm not sure if you're here to just observe or you have some questions because I know that you guys have been building a plugin for BTCPay. So
yeah. So yeah, trying to build a plugin. What we're trying to do is give BTCPay server users access to BlockTank, which is our Lightning liquidity provider, so that retailers can buy inbound liquidity on Lightning, for instance, or set up something along those lines. And I noticed that there isn't very much in the way of being able to manage the underlying Lightning node anywhere. So what would be your recommended sort of way of approaching this kind of a plugin? Is it possible at the moment to open channels to the Lightning node from within BTCPay Server, and if not, is there any sort of plans for making that possible?
Yeah, so it is possible to open channels through BTCPay for the Lightning node. So you can do it either for channel, either for the node connected to the store, or for the Lightning node that's connected to the server in general. So we have two concepts there. So when you deploy BTCPay, you can configure a default Lightning node that's, it would count as the server built-in Lightning node. So if you're a server admin and you create a store, you can say use internal node there, and you'll have to configure connection strings or anything. Or if you're using a server from someone else, or you want to create a store that connects to a different Lightning node, you can actually just configure it manually to it. So we have APIs for that. So we have an abstraction layer on top of these Lightning node connections for Eclair, C Lightning, LND. What am I missing?
Yeah, these are the ones that support channel openings.
Yeah. So we have an abstraction layer there, and then we have an API that lets you pay invoices, create invoices, open channels, and check channel balances. So you should be able to do this. It should be possible to just literally open up the channel from your plugin.
Right, perfect. That sounds excellent. Because really, what I suppose all we really need is the external address of the Lightning node, so the pub key and the and the address to reach it, so that our systems can open the channel to your Lightning node. So if we can get at that, that should be straightforward then.
Would you also want to connect from the Lightning node to yours in case of those situation where the node isn't publicly reachable over ClearNet or something?
We don't have a mechanism for doing that anyway, so that's less critical.
Okay.
But yeah, as long as it supports, it's either visible over ClearNet or Tor, we can deal with it.
Okay. Yeah, that should be fine then.
I just posted the link to the abstraction layer that Kukks mentioned in the chat, and on that, it's basically the get info call that you are interested in.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Do you need any help with figuring out how to build this plugin, or even any locations where you want to show your data or UI, so that we plan and add them into the next release?
Well, because we want to make this sort of quite focused on a retailer getting inbound liquidity, because Blocktank, as it stands, is like inbound, outbound, how much do you want, and all this, lasts a lot of questions. We were going to do a much more simplified, I just want to be able to receive this much Bitcoin, or this many sats, make it happen, I don't care. And so, yeah, we want to be able to put that piece of user interface somewhere, but I don't know where necessarily the appropriate place for that would be. If we just build a plugin, where does that show up? Is that somewhere that they would be able to find it relatively easily?
You already posted on the Mattermost chat a few screenshots, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Most of the screenshots integrated it on the Lightning setup page, and I think this might not be the best place to put it because, well, this is for setting up the node, and the feature you want to offer is more for when the Lightning node is already set up. So I think a better place would be the Lightning page or the Lightning settings page. And in general, we are free to offer up new UI extension points. We just need to add them in the core app's UI and figure out a good name for it. And once that's established, you can hook into that and register your UI to show up there.
Okay, well that sounds good. One of the problems is that we don't have anyone in-house that knows C#, so
Yeah, I could
that's
help you
gonna
with that.
that's going to slow us down slightly, but I'm sure it's fairly straightforward in the end.
Can we make this an issue, or can you post a brief description with the screenshots you post to the Mattermost on our GitHub so that we can discuss it in the design call as well?
Okay. So if I get that done today, you'd have that available for you for the call tomorrow. Yeah, is that?
Yeah, we'll have it a few hours later tomorrow than this one is happening, so you can take a bit of time there. And yeah, for the rest of the setup, I can help you with that. You can reach me on the Mattermost.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything else anybody else wants to ask or discuss?
Well, I could. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah.
Perfect. So excuse the background noise. And so I do have two merge requests upcoming. One is a simple feature which I needed for my company, and that is, oh, well, I forgot the first one, but the second one is the important one. The second one is having a customer form, because so far the POS system only allows, has a feature or an option to make the email or the refund email mandatory, and that is not what we need. What we need personally is a form which we can input customer data and make it optional. So is it possible? Well, it is possible to do that, and I'm more than willing to do that as merge request, but is there a demand, and do you guys have any suggestions or comments?
Yeah, I actually just asked Wouter to, like midway through the call today now, basically about the same functionality you're talking about, because Wouter is building a custodian API system inside BTCPay that lets you connect to foreign custody around assets and Bitcoin. But since all these different custodians have different configuration options, he's building this schema for how to configure them. So it would tell you like, oh, you have a text field here that's called API key that takes a string, or it takes, I don't know, a counter of number, and it's called counter kind of thing. So he's gonna define these kind of things that he needs, and then he's gonna build a UI based on that, like generate it. So I figured that why not just grab the same system that he wants to do and make it more generalized, and we can use it inside BTCPay for exactly this, being able to define a schema, generating UI, and then the UI is shown to the customer. They can click, they could fill it up, click continue, and then the invoice gets generated with all this data populated inside it. Does it sound like what you want?
Sounds along the lines of what I want. So I think I'll get in touch with Wouter and see what we can do, or we'll figure something out.
Awesome, that would be great.
Yep. And the second point is, yeah, I just remembered something I implemented today. It was a minimum payment suggestion, for example. We currently have the option to accept donations in the company, and one of the POS options is to set a minimum payment. However, the displayed minimum displayed value in the text box or the box itself is the minimum value. What we wanted to implement is a suggested or the minimum suggested payment. So you can set the minimum to $5, for example, and you can have the suggested at 20. Is there an answer for that, and would a merge request be acceptable?
So that would mean that when you're configuring the perks or the items inside the point of sale or the crowd fund, and when you select the minimum option for the price type, that right now shows you the amount that you put in, which is the minimum, and now you want the default value as well, right?
Yeah, along the lines, yes. So the
default suggested,
yeah.
I mean, from my end, I don't think it's too bad, but I don't know if Tav or Dennis or anybody else here has any objections. Silence is a good option here.
No, I was just checking out what our current structure looks like, and we have this minimum option already, but this is not what you would want, because then the minimum price would be shown, but you would like to show a higher amount because that's what you would suggest.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we can set the minimum donation to $1, and you can set the default text value to $5. There will be some UI considerations, such as showing a text saying the minimum is 1 or maximum is 5, which I think we should consider design options. But for now, a proof of concept should work. I'll file a Git issue about that.
What we could do is to introduce a separate optional field there, and and basically we would just need a way to render it on the back end and on the front end if it's populated.
Yep,
So
exactly.
this would still be the minimum option, but there'd be another one with a suggested price, which is shown in case it's populated.
Yep, that's exactly how I'm implementing it.
For the previous one you mentioned with the POS asking the customer for more data, that would mean a separate step after the checkout or in between before you get to the checkout, right?
Well, what I had in mind, and I did not start implementing this yet, but what I had in mind was currently if you require a refund email, you will be shown a text box before you are shown the QR code to pay. And well, the easy way would be to implement 2 other text boxes, making them either optional or mandatory, depending on what the user selects.
Yeah, I'd suggest to make it a separate step before the checkout, because integrating it into the checkout might not be the best option, especially if you're asking for a lot of data. So I'd plan this as a separate step, and once the checkout is done, I think the POS data is already some kind of JSON structure, and we would just basically dump what the customer provided into that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you also keep in mind that for example, as Dennis said, like if you're entering the data while the invoice is running, like it got created, you've got a timer that's going down there. So if they're putting in like 10 fields, I mean, in your case, it's only 2, but we have to think about a broader sense there. If they're putting in like 10 fields of data, by the time they finish and continue the form and complete the form, it might be expired, and now they have to do it all over again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I think we should have the option to implement or enter most of the data in the invoice, such as address, etc. So a separate page before that would work. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also makes sense, or it's easiest while we are figuring out how this dynamic data stuff could look like. And I think in general there are more points that make it reasonable to have it separated from the checkout flow.
Yeah, like you can even, if it's not part of the checkout flow, I'm going into a bit of a weird not edge case, but niche feature, but it's more like if you have some fields which are number based, you can actually use those maybe to calculate the invoice amount that you want them to pay. So for example, if they select, I don't know, if they enter that they need 5 tickets in one of the fields, then maybe it will do 5 times the price of the ticket, which would be 20, for example. And then now the invoice amount is $100. So, but that's like something we can add later on, maybe.
We reached the stage where we are already discussing the crazy ideas.
We'll have to run a virtual machine inside our checkout page. Anyway.
All right, sounds good. But I think it would make sense to get to that feature with 1.7, because this is requested for such a long time now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the IT director said, "Oh, I have a 2-week deadline, so I'm going to do as much the best I can to push this with a piece of proof of concept at least."
Where do you need it? Where specifically in the UI do you need it? Is it with the apps, like the point of sale?
Yeah, so we currently use a POS. I think we compact POS, so items only, and you enter a text field. So I mean, I can easily implement a basic prototype internally, and then work on a more full, complete model and push that. That's still more reasonable.
Yeah, with the 2-week timeline, yeah, I guess you have to do that one for sure. Yeah, I don't know if you can do it through a plugin. You might be able to. You might be able to hijack the checkout page and add forms on top with an overlay that they need to fill in.
Yeah, maybe we can come up with something that already prepares what we plan to do in 1.7. Basically, yeah, we would have to pipe the data that was provided by the POS through to that other page, and yeah, I'm just rambling here, but maybe we can do something that isn't as hacky on your side and would also work towards what we plan to do.
That sounds good to me. If there are any open issues, then feel free to link them or send them to me. I am not in the Mattermost, but I'll try to join that later if I'm allowed to. No, we'll see.
Yeah, I think for this stuff in general, there's an issue called something form builder also.
Yeah, I think I had called it form builder, which was basically exactly this way, where you just you generate a wizard beforehand, and then it creates the invoice afterwards. Yeah, I don't know if I had a proof of concept at one point for a project. Let me see if I have it somewhere. Anyway, for another, I'll find it another time. Yeah. Some people are asking if we're gonna talk about Riga. Maybe not on this call. I don't know if we can ad hoc into a separate call now, but maybe it's a bit much. Yeah, exactly what Pav said. Not on this call. We'll do it in another call.
But until then, all of us can already think about what might be worthy a presentation or a workshop.
Yeah, good question. I honestly don't know what to present, honestly. There's a lot of things I can probably talk about.
I think you're the one I'm least worried about to find something.
Well, I mean, all the stuff I promised in 2019 in the Riga are done now. So I'm kind of like, what now? We'll see.
We'll come up with something.
Yeah, I'm sure Pav, the first feature Pav says no to, I'll talk about it in Riga.
And then there's still BTCPay Conf on Gozo, which will have to be announced. You promised that already also in 2019, I think.
Oh yeah. I'll do that in next summer, not this summer. All right. We have 1 minute left. Any crazy features you guys want to promise to someone?
I'm fine.
Okay, no promises. That's smart.
Thanks, everyone. Cool. It was nice seeing some new faces and hearing new voices.
Yeah, same. Can't believe this chat got crowded. Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good time.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
For too long, we've relied on trusted third parties to process digital payments. The world is changing, and so are your customers. As cash payments decrease, digital payments become the standard. But existing apps charge transaction fees and lack privacy. BTCPay is a Bitcoin payment platform. It gives control over your business back to you, helping people achieve financial freedom with donations, payments, and more. Help your family and onboard your friends. Use BTCPay to host multiple stores and become a payment platform of your own. While the world changes around you, stay in control of your finances. It's simple to use, censorship resistant, and completely free. This is more than a payment platform. It's transforming digital payments as fast as the world around us.